Rise and shine on Australia's Vision Christian Radio.
And we are loving travelling through the book of Acts together.
Yeah, it is such a good book, Phil. And as I've said all week, you know, if you're new to the Bible especially, Acts is great because it's just stories.
Yes.
It's not like, you know, lectures and information download. It's just like great stories. But in these stories, we see God's truth, we see God working, and we actually see Jesus in these stories as well.
Oh, we do. And it's the New Testament. So this is a good place to start because it's really people who have been born again. Jesus has died and been risen again. So this is where we stand as well with God. So if you can see what God is doing in the lives of the apostles and the disciples in the early church, we're just that, but 2,000 years later.
Yeah, and it's a fledgling church. And even if you step back from the stories and go, wow, the Christian church was so vulnerable. I mean, the founder was crucified by the Romans, put to death. We obviously believe he rose from the dead.
Yeah.
Some may dispute that. But even the early disciples, it is a ragtag bunch of people, no real money, no real influence, no political clout, really just marginalized people. And somehow this group of people just keep growing and growing and growing and growing until today we have 2.5 billion followers of Jesus. So to me, you have to say this is God. You have to say God started the Christian church. In Acts chapter 12, we pick up the story, don't we, Phil, of the church continues to grow, but there's more challenges to face.
Well, that is right. We pick it up in Acts 12 and we see that there's a king, King Herod Agrippa, and he's persecuting the believers in that church. And it's so much so that he has the apostle James, so John's brother, killed with a sword. So he is serious about this. There are people dying for their faith here. When he sees how much that pleased the Jewish people, he arrests Peter. Now, Peter, as we know, had been with Jesus. He's one of those key disciples. So Peter now is here and he's put into prison. And they say he's placed under four squads of 4 soldiers. So there's 16 soldiers. They are very serious about this.
This is a real challenge, isn't it, Phil? And, you know, it says in the Bible here before that, it says that he stretched out his hand, King Herod, to harass some from the church.
Yeah.
And so this is what we call persecution. And, you know, even today in 2025, 1 in 7 Christians around the world are suffering fairly serious persecution. Here in Australia, thankfully, not so much. But some of our brothers and sisters in other countries are really being harassed. So again, even though the church is so big and so strong and as so established in the world, this harassment and these challenges to Christianity continue to this day.
And we love what we see here because the response of the early believers was to pray. And so if we are the ones that aren't in the prison right now, our response is to be able to pray for those. And we see this church is praying, and they are praying all through the night. And we see that later on in the story. That prayer meeting is going and going for Peter. And Peter, though, he's not too concerned. I always think this is a really cool little story, actually. That night, he's placed before he's on trial, and he knows that King Herod wants him to go to death, right? So this is the situation. It's very serious. He's fastened between 2 soldiers with chains, and others are around the prison gate there. And suddenly there's a bright light in the cell. An angel of the Lord stands before Peter, and the angel has to hit him on the side to wake him up. Like he is seriously asleep. Quick, get up, he says, the angel says, and the chains fall off his wrists. And the angel then has to say, so he must have been a bit groggy, like, oh, what's going on? Get dressed, put on your sandals. And he did. And then he goes, the angel saying, now get your coat as well. Like there's clearly, Peter's in very, very deep sleep there.
Yeah.
I love it. He leaves the cell following the angel and he walks out past everyone out onto the street and he goes straight to that prayer meeting, doesn't he, Andy?
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know what? We can pray, as Phil said, we can pray for people all around the world now. And, you know, one night, Phil, we did have a half night of prayer in the church I was pastoring, and we just really felt to pray for the Middle East. And we didn't have any direct connection there, but we just felt to pray, and we're just praying for the Middle East, praying for people to get saved, for people to meet Jesus, praying for the church. And, you know, we're one of many people who have been praying for the Middle East, and you're just hearing story after story now about how people are turning to the Lord in the Middle East in the midst of persecution. I think the fastest growing church in the world is allegedly in Iran. It's an underground church where Jesus is turning up, appearing to people, saving people from an Islamic background. So just a great encouragement, this chapter, isn't it, Phil, that we should pray, because just like God got Peter out of that prison, he can 100%. Supernaturally save people all around the world today.
It is. And I really love Peter's response. He's in a difficult situation. But if you think back to in the book of John, where Jesus was talking to Peter, he actually gave Peter an idea of how he would die. He says, when you're old and you'll stretch out your hands and others will dress you and take you where you don't want to go. And Jesus starts talking about to Peter, hey, this is actually how you're going to die. I'm sure that Peter's sitting in the prison and he goes, I've got a word from Jesus. My time's not up. I know I'm not old.
Yeah.
I know people aren't leading me where I don't want to. This is not it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine. Deep sleep. So when you've got a word from God about your future, and like, for example, I know that with long life, he's going to satisfy me and show me my salvation. You can sleep sweet through any crisis as well.
Yeah, amen. And you read the rest of the chapter, Herod actually gets struck by an angel and dies. And I think I said this to you. In the revivals I've witnessed firsthand, I've seen God raise the dead, and I've also seen people pass away who stretch out their hand towards the church and oppose Christians, and that's a whole different topic for another day. But an amazing chapter in the Bible, as always, Phil. That's chapter 12 of Acts. And I've got to say, I do love the book of Acts.
Oh, it's wonderful. And look, over the weekend, you could jump ahead. We'll be in Acts 13 on Monday morning. We're going to see Barnabas. Remember, he was our encourager. He and Saul are off on some adventures, so that's coming up.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.